This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello there. Welcome to episode 114. I am recording this a good 6 hours after the Barcelona Inter game has ended. And even after all this time, my heart still flutters thinking about it. I think flashbacks go back to 15 years ago, almost to the day, that Jose Mourinho went with Inter Milan, who had a 3-1 lead against a Barcelona team who had just dominated the league in the past year. I think they won 6 trophies in a single season, which is just incredible. Pure Pep versus pure Jose. And this is when Jose, as I think many people have called him recently, the Dark Lord, came out. They went away to the Nou Camp and went in for a dogged 1-0 loss with 10 men. And Jose Mourinho runs onto the pitch, screaming, chanting. This was not that. This is not that. No sprinklers were turned on today. Inter Milan, from 30 seconds in, provided stern opposition. I think this was such a beautiful football game to watch and to experience. What different contrasting styles. Inter, very solid, have a decent attack and can work their way out, but it's all about how they work the way out. I mentioned this in the last podcast where we talked about Inter, but I thought that a great example of the way that Inter want to play is the way they transitioned the ball up the field in the first leg against Bayern in the last in the quarterfinals. Both their goals came from the goalie launching into the midfield, 1 or 2 quick passes, but their goal is to move it up the pitch. And I think we saw that this game. I think Inter were lucky in many senses to come away with a draw, but also unlucky because this game could have gone could have been very, very different. But one man, and I'm sure the world knows him at this point. I should say a boy, 17 years old, Yamin Lamal. Lamin Yamal. Wow. Very rarely has a team focused on one player and said, give the ball to him, and been successful through the lens of consistency. But Yamal, when he gets on the ball, is just so calm. Inter's manager, and I think this is a great testament to how great Yamal actually is and how almost underappreciated he is by a lot of people. Simone Inzaghi, Inter's manager, said that Yamal is one of those players that comes along every 50 years. And I can't say anything but the same. I think the way he uses the outside of the foot is so interesting because he does it so quickly and with no backlip and with no he's almost never telegraphing it. He will shift onto his left, the defender will cover his left, and then he'll shift onto his right and then go for the left immediately. He'll just and he did it 3-4 times this game, and it could have worked out so much better. And this isn't even talking about the moment of glory. That finish, jeez, oh my goodness. when you're being doubled up upon, which he was the whole game, there was always two people on Yamal. Just to float through, there's only one player that I've seen in my lifetime that has done it and made it look effortless. And I'm not even going to say his name because everyone who's listened to this knows his name. And the comparisons will not stop. But I think one thing we can hands down say about Yamal is he's the best 16 or 17-year-old we've ever seen grace the game. That is hands down. You there's no one you can provide. We can talk about prime Wayne Rooney, but even Rooney was, as a 16 or 17-year-old, was a massive talent, and he did a few good things, amazing things when he was 18 and he went to the Euros and bodied Thuram in the group stages of the Euro 2004. I think that was a great place to put your market down. But Yamal has had that performance like 10 times. You know, the goal against France in the semifinals of the Euros, when we look at Spain and there's this confident team and they were always going to win. There's kind of that talk about Spain now. But hindsight is 2020. France, for some reason, picked it up at the start of that game, and that goal just stifles them because they went 1-0 up. Spain, I believe it was Yamal who equalized, and then Dani Olmo scored later on. So the way that this 17-year-old just puffs out his chest in the big moments, amazing. And this was yet another big moment. It was a supreme finish. And then he had I think 3 or 4 like worldy chances. I think myself and anyone who loves the game is just going to be talking about this kid today. And I mean, it's unfortunate to the rest of the players who had like a great game. Denzel Dumfries, wow. I did not see that coming. You could almost mention the entire Inter team. Henrik Mkhitaryan, I thought he was very solid in midfield, and he was, I hate to say it, but quite an average player as United. I mean, par for the course at United. Wow. I think the real debate today is which is the most beautiful goal. Is it that Rafinha screamer off the bar when Barcelona went down for the second time? Was it the Thuram little flick after 30 seconds? Was it the Dumfries bicycle kick / flying volley, if you don't want to call it a bicycle kick like I've seen online? Or was it that Yamal finish? I would give it to Yamal, but I could see arguments for any of the goals, frankly. Just lit that stadium up. And on that note, let's have a quick ad and we'll talk about a preview for the next fixtures of the week.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, let's take a little pause from the Europe talk. We'll get back to talking about the Europa League fixtures tomorrow and Chelsea's fixture tomorrow. But I want to take a pause to talk about Nottingham Forest versus Brentford tomorrow. After all, this is a Premier League podcast. This is Forest's game in hand after the unfortunately losing in the FA Cup semi-final to City. It's quite important. The top 5 race is as it stands. All the teams, aside from Forest, have played 34 games. Newcastle are on 62 points. Manchester City are on 61 points. Chelsea are on 60 points. Forest are 6th on 60 points. And Aston Villa are languishing behind on 57 points. I've said consistently since my predictions video last week, if you watched that, that Chelsea and Villa are the most likely to miss out. But it's games like this Brentford game that can be a very easy banana skin for Forest to not pick up full points. I hope Elanga starts. I think looking at the FA Cup semi-final, Forest were just flat in the first half. I wish they converted some of their chances in the second half. But the reason those chances happened, let's not get it twisted, was Anthony Elanga. This boy is lightning fast, and I didn't think he'd have the consistency to perform at this level. But in this Forest team, he's been scintillating. Every time he gets on the ball, he's trying to make something happen. I think one of the recent games I watched with Forest was the last week, the Forest Tottenham game. And the way that Elanga would just like latch onto the out ball and just boom, go win a foul up the field, get Forest up, I think is so crucial to the way this team plays. I think they have been missing YOUela. Very, very solid right back. I recently found out that he's 28 years old. I did not realize that he played under Mourinho and Conte at Chelsea. I knew he was at Chelsea. I just didn't. I thought it was far more recent. And then he went to Torino. I should have known this, but I think he's been a loss. He came off with a calf injury, a little slight tear, during the Man United game a couple of weeks ago. And after he came off, I noticed how different the Forest team felt. It felt that it was almost like losing a central defender in the way that link is gone, if that makes sense. It felt like YOUela was almost like glue to this Forest team, and it's been a little harder to perform, a little more grafting from each player. So interested to see if Brentford, namely Mbeumo and Visa, can exploit that. Brentford are no joke of a side. I think quick shout out to Lewis Potter. I think Lewis Potter has done fantastic this season, filling in at left back. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's a midfielder by trade. So him being a defender and dropping back in is not the easiest thing to do. Like it's I myself am a midfielder, and last season I dropped into defense, and I can tell you that psychologically it's completely different. With midfield, yeah, you're solid at the back, but you're kind of looking forward for the most part. But as a defender, you need to be sticking to your line, making sure you're not playing anyone onside. And I thought he's done a fantastic job this season. Let's see, what other injuries do we see for Brentford? Vitaly Anelt, Fabio Carvalho, Joshua Da Silva, and Thiago, who was injured at the start of the season. That Thiago injury was pretty brutal because I think he was it was either last season or this season. It feels like such a long time ago, where he was our summer signing and he was supposed to be the cover for Tony. So to just see him injured from the start of the season is brutal. But Brentford are very, very solid side. Let's look at the Premier League table. I think, yeah, Brentford are hot and cold. They've won 13, drawn 7, and lost 13. We'll see where this goes. Predictions for me would probably be oof. I'm gonna say I'd be interested to see if what happens if Forest draw or lose this game, because what's the rest of their fixtures? Oh, Crystal Palace, Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea. Okay, well, they should pick up 6 points with Leicester and West Ham, at least draw at Crystal Palace. But I think if they struggle against Brentford, they will struggle against Palace. Interesting. Oh, looks like they have a lot of rest. Oh, not a lot of rest because they play on Monday. So it's only a few days. Oh, interesting. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Forest victory. It's a very modest prediction. But I'm hoping that Forest get over the line. I think it's been so interesting to see the top 6 broken up this season. Not just in terms of league position wise, but more the quality of each game. The reason, and I mentioned this also in the last podcast, but the reason that the bottom 3 have gone down so convincingly, outside of the notion of the Premier League might of financially, is that the Premier League is actually very, very competitive. Liverpool are at 82 points, and in recent seasons, we haven't seen anybody like get to a Premier League title without reaching 90 points. Like it's been slogs, like year after year, year after year, year after year. And then the top 5 race, the reason it's so close is that the Premier League is just so competitive now. We have Bournemouth in 10th. Bournemouth went away to Newcastle this year and beat him 4-1 away from home. Ridiculous. And Bournemouth beating Forest 7-0. Was it what did Forest beat Brighton by? Was it 7-1? 6 ridiculous score lines. But it shows you how competitive this league is, because even Wolves are struggling, sauntering down the league at the start of the season, and they've won 6 on the bounce. What? Everton look like a strong side. I'd say outside of the bottom 3, only West Ham, Spurs, and Man United are weak sides. Every other side is well put together. So my larger point is, it's been so interesting to see a team like Forest do so well, so consistently, above this rest of the pack that is also doing well. They're not Forest aren't doing well in like a freakishly bad season. It's not like as much as I love the 15-16 Leicester triumph, if you look at the quality in the league during that season, it did significantly drop down. Almost every club was in this flux point. Jurgen Klopp was in this stage before he was like the normal one, and he was just finding his feet. United weren't as strong. Chelsea were somehow languishing in the bottom of the table with Mourinho. I think that was that year. City just weren't at their prom. Like that's not the case this season. You can make an argument for City for sure, but that's because they've set these ridiculously high standards over the past few years. But Newcastle grew into the season. Arsenal have been decent, hit by injuries, but they've had maybe not the best title challenge, but they've had a consistent season. Forest have just done that little bit better than the rest of the pack, especially given how we ranked them at the start of the season. I don't think people had Forest even in the top half of the table. It's going to be such an interesting to see people's start of the league predictions compared to the end of the league, because I think this could be an all-time low for accuracy, because United, Spurs, 14th and 16th. You have Forest in 6th right now, but with a game in hand, realistically 3rd, 4th, 5th. You have, you had the bottom 3, the promoted teams going down. But it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow, and I'd love to say I'm going to watch it. All eyes are going to be on the Europa League fixtures tomorrow, which after a short ad break, we're going to focus on doing our previews.
Your body is unique.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Okay, let's start with the one that is a little more clear cut than the Europa League fixtures on paper. There's always a chance for an upset. The at risk of sounding a little I'm thinking duplicitous. Duplicitous is another word, but a little uneducated. I'm gonna try and say their name. Jurgarden. Hopefully that's right. Please let me know if I have offended you if you're Swedish. Chelsea away to Jurgarden. If they don't get a victory, I think this could be a spicy second leg. We saw Chelsea lose to Legia Warsaw, and Chelsea aren't in the best of form for some reason. But this first leg is a must-win, obviously. Maybe we're viewing this from English bias, but Chelsea have such financial might. If they don't go to Jurgarden and secure a victory, they will be laughed out. I would love to see them lose because I am a hater at my heart. But it would be foolish for me to predict anything other than a Chelsea victory. I hope they keep Jadon Sancho. He's not been firing on all cylinders, but can do something on his day. I would be interested to see if Tyreek George starts. He's been doing very good over the past few weeks. He's been showing his confidence. I think I've seen a few Instagram clips of him, like just in like private training sessions, and he just, I think most pros look very good in a private training session because just the crispness of the way they hit the ball, like it definitely comes across when you can hear it like fully on. But I will say Tyreek George did look very, very good. Also, it'd be very interesting to see who they start at right back. I think they're most likely going to go with Achiampong. Again, not a pronunciation expert. As Mal Augusto has been injured for the last few seasons and Reece James is pushed into midfield. But yeah, interested to see if Maresca tweaks things. He doesn't seem like, although he's a student of the Pep game, he doesn't seem like he's the person to like really tweak things over and over again. But this is his first semi-final of the club, so maybe he changes something else. Maybe he thinks it's going to be a cold trip in Sweden and he chooses a weird lineup. I don't know. We'll see what goes through their head. The only player I recognize from the Jurgarden lineup is Albin Ekdal. I think he was like bouncing around the Serie A for quite a long time. I think maybe he went to Hamburg or something. But aside from that, it's a fully unknown 11. I wish I could talk about it more, but unfortunately, I do not have that deep ball knowledge. Let's switch over to the Europa League. So let's start off with the one that affects my mental the least, which is Spurs versus Bodo Glimt. This is a must win. Going to Bodo Glimt on their really like very, very cold AstroTurf pitch in Norway is tough. Because we forget a lot of the time when we talk about football in such a on paper manner that we forget that they're not robots. They're going to have to go to Norway and in those cold temperatures. It's not a cold night in Stoke. It's negative Celsius. Like it's cold. But their players are used to it and Spurs players will not be used to it. Yes, London is cold, but not that cold. You're not going to get frostbite in London, let me tell you. So if Spurs don't put on a multiple goal win tomorrow against Bodo Glimt, it's gonna be a tough ask to go to Bodo Glimt like they did in Frankfurt and put on a masterful performance. I also think without Heung-min Son, it seems like Spurs have no bite. I mean, even with Son, Spurs have no bite, but since he's been injured, it's looked so toothless. It was a good performance away at Frankfurt. I mean, had a half eye on it. I was obviously watching the United game. But it seemed very defensively solid, which is good. But it still seemed that they lacked the bite up top. In the first leg, it was a completely different game. Spurs definitely like dominated that first leg and should have had more goals if it wasn't for the Frankfurt keeper having a wonderful game. But that's the thing. It's like you need to make those chances count. So I think that's the big game is, will Spurs make those chances count? I'm very interested to see what he'll do for the game, because he made, I think Ange made 8 changes to in the game against Liverpool on the weekend. Maybe it was those 8 changes to rest certain players so that they could make sure that they are fit for this game, because this is where their season is and where United's season is. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see how Spurs line up, what their front line looks like. Maddison should start. Van de Ven and Romero should start. They are almost at full fitness, so the only person that is missing out that would be a starter is Heung-min Son. Dragusin is their backup center backs, one of their backup center backs, along with Ben Davies, and he's out with a ACL injury, I believe, until October, like a good solid amount of time. But Bodo Glimt is a very, very decent side. You know, like when they came to United earlier in the season, in I think Amram's first European match in charge, and United went 1-0 up thanks to, I think, Rasmus Højlund, which we have not been able to say much this season. But they pegged us back very fast. It was 2-1 very quickly. I think within 12 minutes. I remember being at home for Christmas break and I had to leave the room. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't look at this. Little did I know how bad it would get. Yeah, so they could very easily show Spurs up. They, I think, beat Roma 6-0 last year or 2 years ago when Jose Mourinho was in charge. So that game is not going to be as easy as many people think it should be for Spurs. They think it should be an easy route to the final. Yes, they're not a team of stature, but Lazio, I think, were either second or first in the table for the Europa League. Lazio are a decent size, and they came back. Lazio came back to 3-0, getting ahead in the tie, and Bodo Glimt still scored a goal, pushing it to pens and winning through pens. On to the one that is going to affect my mental, and it's hard to see anything except a United loss in this game. The only hope is that we have an injury to their frontman, Sanse, who's a very, very good player, but he limped off in the Las Palmas game that they had. But the whole team has had a week of rest, a week. And United played a few days ago in a slog against Bournemouth away. And Sanse is their only injury. Nico Williams has successfully come back through injury and is now predicted to start. Whereas United, this is the people that we have coming back and should hopefully aid us in the second leg. We have De Ligt, we have Toby Collier, we have Amad Diallo, and we had Aiden Heaven. All 4 of those should come back by the second leg in some form. Amad, please, I from the bottom of my heart, if Amad does something to secure us this through to the final, build him a statue, please. The fact that he's recovered from an end of season injury before the end of the season, has that willpower to get through that and do the recovery right, incredible. But I think there's a lot more hope than confidence going into this game. I think there's also a lot of I think if you ask some deep United fans who've been watching for a long time, they'll remember that Sir Alex, his penultimate season, we came third in the Champions League group stage, which meant that we had to play in the Europa League, which first of all was a travesty at the time, but look how far the mighty have fallen. And we played well against an Ajax side. We did okay in that leg, and then in the quarterfinals we came against a Marcelo Bielsa Athletic Bilbao side, and they ran us off the park. I know this is not that same side, but I think a lot of United fans will still remember that. I think that's the game that made Ander Herrera sign for United, because Ander Herrera, obviously, as all Athletic Bilbao players, is from the Basque region, but heard Old Trafford get behind United. And that's what we're going to need. We're going to need, if we go back to Old Trafford 1 down, that is success. Like, it's a sad state for United, but that's where we're at. We're so injury struck. We have such little coming off the bench. There's such little form going into the game. We have that Lyon game to fall back on, to say that even when we're out, we're not out. It's never over until the final whistle blows. Now it's over till the fat lady sings, But just the Williams brothers alone, they're going to be far more of a threat than anything we have. And I think that's how United will feel going into this game is, yes, we can do something, but we're up against it. I think there will be fear. And I've seen it all season where there's it's not even an argument as much as it is like basic observation, is that United give teams too much respect. And obviously teams come after United like they like a shark that smells blood in the water. They see United and it's weakness, And I would love for United to do something tomorrow. I will be watching very intently and cry my eyes out if we win and cries my eyes out if we lose. But I can't see anything other than a loss. And that really, really pains me to say it. But it does show where our season has been. Let's hope. There's always hope. And that's the beauty of football. When no one is given a chance, there's still a chance. Arsenal will go to the Parc des Princes next week and fully believe and fully hope that they have a very, very good chance of winning. And they will envision themselves coming from the Parc des Princes with a win. I hope that United players go into it with the same mindset. And that's our time. It's been a wonderful podcast. I'd say hanging with you folks, but there are no folks. I'm talking to myself. Let's hope that the folks listening have a good time. Auf Wiedersehen. Adios. Until the next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.